Tonight, we salute you for a great effort. So give them a round of applause. As I've said so many times, a few years ago, Rhode Island wasn't in such a great place. High unemployment rate, one of the highest in the country, roads falling apart, schools falling down. We had stopped investing, and people were hungry for change. And so we've been working as fast as we can to bring that change. And tonight, the people of Rhode Island have said, do more, go faster, and keep going. So that's what we're going to do. Here, my daughter said, hey, great, you know what this means? Get up tomorrow and work even harder. And that, my friends, is about the size of it, because November is around the corner, okay? November is around the corner, and I want you to know I am fired up. I'm going to get up early tomorrow morning and get back at it, because we got a real race ahead of us. We have a real race ahead of us, and we know what that is. Now we know our opponent. It's going to be the mayor of Cranston, Allan Fung. And we know two things about Allan Fung. Number one, he opposes the job creation policies of my administration that have created over 20,000 jobs. And we know he is not going to have the courage to stand up to President Trump, who wants to take away Rhode Islanders' health care and drill off the coast of Rhode Island for oil. And we know that Rhode Islanders are craving change, and they're not going to vote for a political insider. So we're going to party tonight. We're going to say thank you for all of our supporters for getting out there. Some of us who've been out all day are going to dry our shoes. So we're ready to put our walking shoes back on tomorrow and get back out there and knock on doors. 4 more years. That's right.
Governor Raimondo down at Union Station Brewery.
4 more years. 4 años más. We're going to get it done. So to all of you, I just want to say thank you. It's humbling. It's an honor. I want to say thank you. And let's go make it happen in November. Thank you.
4 more year chant, both in English and Spanish there. And Arlene Violet, Nick Gorham in studio with me. She's ready to go. She's already starting to take her whacks at Allan Fung, who is who's not going to defend the universe against Donald Trump and is going to and destroy all the hard economic work she's done.
Well, obviously, as you know, when Cicilline ran against Doherty, the former state trooper superintendent, it was Cicilline versus the Republicans, right? And I would imagine that her campaign, in addition to running head-to-head with Fung, is going to paint him as a Trumpster and really run against Donald Trump as well.
Yeah, I suspect she just might be beating the Trump drum a little bit this fall. Every time Allan Fung's name is
How
mentioned.
effective is that, though? I mean, honestly, is it something that, I mean, I get it. I don't know. I those things, they make me crazy. I look at each individual person as their own person. And Allan Fung's never come out and said, I'm a big Trump supporter. I mean, he said, I like his economic policies and whatever. I don't know. Do you think Donald Trump, Allan Fung are simpatico? Is anybody simpatico with Donald Trump?
With $3 million to spend,
it doesn't matter.
She can turn him into a Trump fan.
Yeah, they're going to look like they're cousins by the time this is over. And she's going to come right out of the gate, as she did right now, defining him before he gets to define himself to the population of the rest of Rhode Island outside of Cranston.
You know, this anybody but Gina movement that was out there wasn't a movement, evidently. It was obviously, you know, this supposedly, I guess, a bunch of ticked off retirees and union members, public sector union members, I should say, didn't seem to have an impact here. I mean, she won straight up, 56% of the vote. It looks like the progressives out there that have the speaker didn't have a good night.
No.
He backed a bunch of people that were trying to keep progressives from either staying in the General Assembly or getting in the General Assembly. And it looks as though they all lost. I mean, they all won. All the progressives won. And all the people
if you look at
almost.
Myra Walsh.
Maura Walsh is heavy duty.
Vessel, they both won. And it looks like just about all the progressives that Patrick Anderson was talking about last week in the Providence Journal, they all won.
All of them.
301, yeah. So
That's
it's
really
not-
that's
you
a
know,
very important story. I think that people may miss because we're looking at the top races, right?
Let's remember
But-
where the power is. in Rhode
But the
Island.
General Assembly is where the power is, as Nick just pointed out, and Matt, you've talked about it so many times. And what happens here is there's already people in the General Assembly that didn't have any challengers who are progressives, and now there's at least 5 or so going in addition to those numbers. And it really is going to be very interesting in terms of policy. It'll be very interesting on who keeps their seat, whether as a speaker, et cetera.
Votes to keep the speakership. What, 38 votes? Is it
38?
38 votes. So I don't know. I got to do the math real quick and determine whether or not he has a problem. Does Nick Mattiello have a problem becoming speaker again, assuming he gets past his
He
election?
sure is going to have to make some concessions, wouldn't you think?
I think this is a bad night for him. It makes it more difficult for him to have a path to stay speaker, but it's too early to tell because you've got the general and a lot can happen.
He's
in the
aggravated the
general.
women in the party, though, who aren't even progressive. You know, he went with Michael Earnhardt, who was a former Trump supporter, and threw his support behind him against the incumbent, Maura Walsh, who got in trouble by talking about how much drinking was going on up in the General Assembly.
She told the truth. I can't believe it.
But
How dare she?
But women were very ticked off, and that were Democrats, the females in the General Assembly, because you don't go after one of their own. And she's been a good legislator from their perspective
And they were mad
on women's issues.
Yeah, and they were mad before the Me Too.
Yes,
movement in
because of the
General
treatment of the
Assembly.
Democrat committee toward them when they were having their meetings, etc. So there's a lot of rancor going on. We always talk about the progressives fighting for the heart and soul of the Democratic Party, but the women are fighting for a piece of that soul too.
I think those women you're talking about are all mostly progressive. I mean, they are the one and the same, and that is, I think, it has a lot to do with the fact that the codification of abortion rights into Rhode Island law didn't pass that bill. He says it's not an issue because the Supreme Court's not going to overturn it. They didn't like that. They didn't like to be brushed off the way they were, and they were upset about it. And they went out and they came out and they talked about it.
Record number of women running for the General Assembly in Rhode Island this year, and it looks like so far they're having a good night in the primaries. And
it's another
it's gonna be very
schism that he
interesting.
has to deal with. The progressives are potentially one schism, and I think women who've been somewhat loyal, they're another problem for Mr. Mattiello as well. I just think they're going to be kicking up the dust during the upcoming, and they're not going to put up with any guff about, we're not going to codify Roe v. Wade, et cetera. And the other issue that really ticked them off was the handling of extending the statute of limitations for sex abuse prosecutions.
Let's remember one thing.
Can I interrupt you real quick? Sure. Allan Fung just took to the podium. We should grab that. Allan Fung, mayor of Cranston's coming out. He's going to run again against Gina Raimondo, second time around. Here he is. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me get to we'll get you right to the beginning of that. That way we can get and find out what Mayor Fung has to say. And hear his speech in entirety. Here he is, Allan Fung, down his headquarters.
And I want to take a moment to thank all of you, my fellow Rhode Islanders. Tonight, all of you have spoken loudly and clearly that you are ready to take back our state from the insiders, the big shots, the connected, and the wasteful senators of this state. Tonight, you recognize that I am one of you, and you trust to lead this revolution to take back our state. Thank you for the confidence that you placed in me tonight. I appreciate this awesome responsibility you have given me, and together, we will get this done. We're only 7 weeks away from bringing fundamental and massive reforms to Smith Hill. 7 weeks from reversing the horrific incompetence of the Raimondo administration that has failed our seniors and our most vulnerable children alike. The time is now to raise up our citizens from across the state who have been left behind and forgotten. From the Blackstone Valley to Aquidneck Alliance, we are saying enough is enough. For the past 10 months, I've been crisscrossing the state, and I know we've got a lot of work to do. We've been listening to our friends' concerns. From a power plant being stuffed down their throats in Burrillville, to devastating cuts in funding for our education in Middletown, and I know my mother-in-law's here, so she knows it very well, to our commercial fisheries being destroyed off Galilee. That's for you, Fuca. And certainly, all of you residents in East Bay have pleaded to stop the gridlock on Route 195. I can assure you that gridlock will be a distant memory when I am your governor. And everyone, yes, everyone along Route 6 want those pothole craters fixed. And for Pete's sake, yes, please. And for Pete's sake, can we put some garbage cans back in the Squamicut Beach? You know, all Rhode Islanders are sick and tired of task forces or things being, quote, studied for a better part of a decade. They just want someone who's going to fix their problems. And we will fix them now. We've been taking notes, and we're not going to forget any one of you. In fact, you, the hardworking Rhode Islander, are going to be at the front and center of every decision in the Fung administration. Your family, the family that is struggling to pay all the bills on time every month, is going to be at the front and center of every decision made about this state budget. You need a break. The government cannot put the cost of their bad habits on your backs anymore. That's not leadership. My campaign, this entire movement is about bringing leadership to the State House, and I am that leader. Sure. Your family, with the dad who can't afford to be late to pick up his daughter from daycare, is going to be at the front of every decision at DOT. No more hashtag Gina Jams and poor coordination between agencies. That will stop. Your family, with the children with disabilities, is going to be at the front and center of every decision at DHS. And if Raimondo, yes. And if Raimondo's UHIP tobacco can't be fixed, we're going to go back to even paper and pencil to get you the help that you deserve while the state gets us back on track. Ladies and gentlemen of Rhode Island, I've led a city out of its dark days and turned it in one of the best places to live in America. And one of the best places to raise a child, our next generation. Ladies and gentlemen, now I want to do this for the rest of Rhode Island.
Yes.
And I need you. And I need you more than ever before. I need you at headquarters tomorrow making calls. I need you walking neighborhoods and spreading the word to your friends. And I need you, most importantly, to soundly reject this miserable status quo that we've been living in Rhode Island so that we can scream, we can do better than Raimondo's Rhode Island. All Rhode Islanders deserve better. Our taxpayers, our property owners, our business people, our state municipal workers, our union members, all of us together, we can be better, and together we will certainly do better. And I want to take a moment. I see so many faces here that have been by my side from day one. You know, I mentioned my wife, you know, my mother-in-law, my mom and my sisters that are at home, and many of you know I lost my dad, you know, just a few short months ago. You know, they've motivated me, meant so much to me. But as I look out into this crowd, you do too. And there's so many of you to make sure that I want to thank personally, but I don't want to forget anyone. But I want to make sure that you know that you matter. And in this administration, all of Rhode Island matters. So thank you, everybody. We love you guys.
And a very
All right, so there you go. Courtesy of Channel 12. There is our there's Mayor Allan Fung. He is obviously amped up, ready to go. Rematch time. Let's go back to our panel here. We got Nick Gorham in studio, Arlene Violet's in studio. We'll talk a little bit more about the governor's race in a minute, but I want to talk about the idea of the General Assembly, because that's obviously the seat of power in Rhode Island, right, folks?
Yes.
Looks like the progressives had a great night, and so I asked the question off the air: does the speaker have a problem with his race? And Nick, you brought up an interesting point from a story of the past, I should say.
Remember John Harwood from, I think it was 1992. He won the speakership, even though his opponent his opponent was Russell Bramley at the time. 100 people in the House. Russell Bramley had 49 votes. He was 2 votes from becoming speaker. But they were all Democrats. John Harwood reached out to Republicans and became speaker.
Yeah.
And you can't count Mattiello out, because the same thing could happen. The Republicans could weigh in on either side. So what this may do is give some great opportunities to those Republicans who get elected. Now, they're not elected yet, lest we forget.
We don't
There's
know
a
how many
general
are there.
election.
And traditionally, anytime I've ever seen that, when they've had the ability to make a difference, when they've had those rare opportunities, the
Right.
dissident Democrats and things,
Right.
they don't take them, they don't use them. I mean, well,
Right.
listen, what was the battle not too long ago with the Republicans, and they didn't get anything for their support. I think was it a Speaker Mattiello recently? I got to remember who it was off the top of my head, but I think it was when Gordon Fox stepped down. And Nick Mattiello
was
was
challenged by your neck
Marcella,
of the woods,
Mike Marcella. Yeah,
right.
and they went to and they voted for him. They got nothing,
Right.
nothing.
Right.
But put some demands on the table. Say, listen, we're gonna. These are the initiatives we want. I mean, I guess they got some tax reform, and Nick Mattiello got rid of the car tax. They got some. I don't know if that was obviously. I don't know, but they put some demands on the table and let everybody know we'll support the speaker if he does A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
He's not going to have, I think, the same power that he's had up until this point. A, because of the potential of the wheeling and dealing that the Republicans are going to do on issues that of import to them if he wants their votes. But the women too. I think there is a schism. I think the progressives as another. It's not going to be your usual home that you're used to when he goes back there in
They're gonna have
January.
to if he makes the election, if he wins,
If he
doesn't
wins,
get taken out by
that's another F.
by
Frias.
Steve Frias. Yeah, he's gonna have to make a decision whether or not he wants to fight this progressive wave or actually embrace it and do something with it, right? And change up his mind. And there is the conservative traditional Democrats in this state are sick to their stomach when I hear from them about the progressives. I mean, guys like Joe Policina, guys like Charlie Lombardi. You know, those old school Democrats, they don't like this progressive wave. They don't like it. They think it's anti-business. And they're all businessmen. We'll continue this. Arlene Violet, Nick Gorham's in studio right now, 9:30. Time for the Revolution Softwash News Center. Bill Haberman, what's going on in the world?
And good evening. WPRO's Election Central coverage continues. Big story tonight on primary night. The rematch is set. Democrat Gina Raimondo has won her party's nomination to seek another term as a governor. She the easy winner over Matt Brown and Spencer Dickinson. The rematch is on. Republican Allan Fung, He, too, an easy win on the Republican side over Patricia Morgan and Giovanni Ferrosi. This is, of course, the battle that goes back to 2014 when Governor Raimondo defeated Allan Fung. It looks like the Cranston mayor will have another shot at Governor Raimondo coming up this fall. One race still to be decided right now. This has been, anyway, the so-called battle for the hearts and minds of the Democratic Party, progressive against traditional. It is still too close to call. The lieutenant governor's race right now. The incumbent Democrat Dan McKee is clinging to about a 1,400 vote lead over Aaron Regenberg. 92% of the precincts are reporting. Let's head up to Pawtucket, where the lieutenant governor is standing by. Paul Zangari joins us live with the lieutenant governor. Paul, what can you tell us?
Well, Bill, amazingly, it does seem more upbeat here than it did half an hour ago. I'm starting with Lieutenant Governor McKee. He was saying he didn't really want to say anything at the time. He was just here watching the numbers come in with his friends. And, of course, as it still is too close to call. But the fact of the matter is, he is going to be talking in just a few minutes. Podium has been set up, and he will have something to say. But you're right. The numbers right now are so close, they really can't predict the winner here. But, again, they do seem upbeat. It may have to do with where the numbers have come in from. That's information I don't have, but the campaign may.
All righty, WPRO's Paul Zangari. He is with the lieutenant governor. He is in Pawtucket right now. And again, he clings to a 1,400 vote lead over the progressive challenger, Aaron Regenberg. Let's head out to the party headquarters. The speeches have now been made. The nominations have been claimed. Let's head first to Union Station in downtown Providence. WPRO Steve Klemkin is with the governor there. Steve, the governor telling her supporters, we did it. Let's get back to work tomorrow to try to win another 4 years as governor of Rhode Island.
Bill, they were chanting 4 more years here, and she was leading the chant, and that's what she's looking forward to, is another 4 years as governor. She's got to first get past Allan Fung and say she's going to get some dry shoes tonight and get some sleep and get back to work and back on the campaign trail first thing in the morning. She's working the crowds, thanking her supporters here at her campaign rally here at the Union Station Brewery in downtown Providence. We asked the governor afterwards, was she nervous? Was there a point where she thought it might not come together for her? She said, no, not really. She said a lot of hard work went into this. I said, yeah, money helps too. And she says, but that's the result of the hard work. So not conceding that, about the $7 million she's raised, not trying not to dwell on that. Her supporters are here. They're very happy. They are charged up and ready to go. And it looks as though they'll be getting ready along with her to hit the road in the morning. Bill? All
righty, WPRO's Steve Klemkin with the governor at Union Station, downtown Providence. Let's head out to the Shriners, the Imperial Room in Cranston, where we're joined live by WPRO's Tessa Roy. Mayor Fung there says that they are ready to take things back in November as he claims the Republican nomination. Mayor Fung, Tessa Roy says, we are going to get this done this time.
Absolutely, Bill. That is what he just told us. It looks like we didn't, I reported at 9 that he was going to be speaking at 9:30, but it looks like he just did not want to wait. He started speaking about 15 minutes ago, right after the governor finished her remarks. He spoke about a number of issues. Namely, he spoke about the Burrowville power plant being shoved down people's throats, so it looks like he's taken a negative stance on that. Like you said, he spoke a lot about wanting to take back our state. He wants to make the 195 gridlock a distant memory. He says people are really sick of potholes. They want those filled in. And he also says people are tired of having a lot of task force assembled and issues studied. He wants issues to be fixed now, and he promises to do that. He promises no more, as he calls them, hashtag Gina Jams, as he's been promoting in his campaign. We are going to go back in there. He's going to be speaking to reporters pretty quickly, but like I said, he just spoke to all his supporters. He was very fired up, and his supporters here are pretty fired up as well. Bill?
All righty, that's WPRO's Tessa Roy. She reports live, Allan Fung's headquarters in Cranston. Again, let's break down the numbers, and then we'll get back to analysis from Matt Allen, Arlene Violet's Nick Gorham as well. The governor, 56% to 34% for Matt Brown. Spencer Dickinson did very well, taking 10% of the votes. Republican side, it's Allan Fung, 56% of the Republican vote to 40% for Patricia Morgan. Giovanni Ferrosi, just 3%. Again, that lieutenant governor's race race. That is not decided right now. Dan McKee is holding about a 1,200 vote lead over Aaron Regenberg right now, 51 to 49%. And again, we are waiting. Lieutenant Governor McKee's speech. Mayor Lorza, easy winner of his party's nomination in Providence, took 58% of the vote, winning out over Kobe Dennis and the former school superintendent Bob DeRobio. Warwick's acting mayor, he is the winner of the Democratic primary. No contest for Mayor Solomon. Mayor Murray has gone down to defeat in Cumberland. Again, most of the precincts are voting there. His challenger, Jeffrey Mutter, emerging the apparent victor, 54 to 46%. Again, some of these progressive legislative races that we've been following, it has been a good night on the grassroots level. Sam Bell, he is the winner in the state senate race. He has taken out Paul Jabor in the Providence race. Moira Walsh, she is the winner in her race. That, again, is the race where the speaker endorsed the other side. And that also in the East Bay, Lufton Asuncio, she is the winner of the legislative seat there. That is House District 68. It's like a Bernie supporter did go down. Freshman State Senator Janine Calkin is reported to be defeated by lawyer Mark McKenney. This is in the Warwick State Senate district race there. Again, so at least on the progressive side, there was one defeat, the state Senate race in Warwick. Again, Janine Calkin reportedly defeated there. Again, our analysis continues. WPRO's Matt Allan joins us. Our Election Central coverage continues. He is joined in studio by Arlene Violet and Nick Gorham. WPRO News Time is 9:37.
Get the latest from tonight's results when you wake up tomorrow morning with Mr. 401, the news with Gene Valicenti, tomorrow morning from 6 to 9. Now, back to Election Central coverage of the Rhode Island primary, sponsored by Marshall Building and Remodeling on News Talk 99.7 FM and AM 630 WPRO.
Matt Allan here. Our special election night coverage is on the air. We were in primary night, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back here, or I will at least be back here in a couple of weeks as we hit the general election in November. Arlene Violet's in studio with me. Nick Gorham's in studio. Where we're looking at all the different races and some of the. It looks like the speakers had a bad night. The progressives have had a great night. And what that means for the General Assembly complexion, we don't know. The governor is obviously the nominee by I wouldn't call it a landslide, but by a really healthy margin.
Yeah.
Close to a landslide you're going to get, I think. And then, of course, Mayor Fung is going to be the Republican nominee. Really, it didn't seem like there was much of a fight there as well. These guys had their people locked in. Do you think that the weather took any? We have to see the total numbers. I haven't seen. Did the weather take any have any effect today, folks? You think?
Just de minimis.
Yeah, I don't think it was much of an issue.
Yeah.
The issue of the debates. Obviously, we talked about the debates a lot for people just tuning in. There doesn't seem to be, and nobody has to pay for not debating in the primary anyway. Inconsequential. Speaking to the people and having the job interview not needed.
That's right.
Well, they can they get away with that in the general election?
No.
All right, so we'll find out about that. We got a three-way race. Yeah. So there's a chance we could actually have another governor elected for the third time in a row. Second time for Gina Raimondo if she happens to be it. That's I guess that would say that the standard operating belief would be that Gina Raimondo benefits from this three-way race. Yes? No?
Well, a lot of people thought last time that Bob Healy hurt Mayor Fung a lot more than at the time Treasurer Raimondo.
Yeah.
This time you have Joe Trillo, and
he carves right out of Allan Fung's rear end.
I think so.
That's
I do.
Without a doubt.
I do, and it also makes it likely that again we'll have a governor elected by a plurality, but not a majority.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say. It really depends on how many votes Joe Trillo gets. I don't think he's going to pull out. I understand that there's a big rift between Fung and Trillo. So
the Republican Party is interesting, Arlene. You know a little bit about this. It's like the circular firing squad. I've never seen a small group of people who fight so much. And I guess if you don't have
in the phone booth, right, Base?
But
that's the small ring instead of a real boxing ring.
The vitriol from fellow Republicans about Patricia Morgan, their caucus leader, and they can't stand her. Some of them. Yeah. She did not have. You'd think the people that serve with her in the General Assembly would think that you'd think that she'd be their leader. That most of them didn't like her that I know of, and and they all have their stories as to why. And it's the same way. There's some stalwarts in the Republican Party that can't stand the Mayor Fung. I don't know what went on there. Is this an effect of not having a majority anywhere, so that way you can't hold the purse strings and the patronage to help rally people and to keep people loyal? Is that what happens?
Now,
So
I'm
you
going to
just
make some of your listeners groan
Yes,
now.
yes.
But there is an element of sexism. When women are so-called bossy or very specific about what they want or whatever, then they're characterized with the B word. When men do exactly the same thing, they're leaders, strong leaders,
You really think
determined
that's
leaders,
a play here, then?
etc.
How much of this do you think that is?
I think it exists when women are in higher office. Absolutely.
To the point where it's like a driving force in that situation?
People criticize, from my perspective, the criticisms of Patricia Morgan is because she is a person who doesn't know what she wanted. She was trying to lead as a leader the party in a certain direction and to be the good old opposition, grand old opposition, which GOP is supposed to stand for. And people don't like women doing that. It's inconsistent with the role that women are perceived to play, I guess.
I think it's also easier to create dissent within the Republican Party because they begin with so little power, and the Democrats they can foster dissent easily. When I was in the House, it was so easy for the Speaker to step in and peel a few votes away from our caucus on something that we probably otherwise would have been unified on.
Yeah.
Because
it's
so
a carrot stick, right? You can offer them something. Your buddy of yours gets a job in the State House. You get a lawyer friend of yours is all of a sudden on the council. It was with the council's office, and
it's counterintuitive. But sometimes the less you have to fight about, the more you fight. And I think that's been, unfortunately, the unfortunate history of the Republican Party in Rhode Island. And it seems like the Democrats always close ranks. They know when to put their disputes aside and just go out and win, and they do it really well. Let's face it, it's been 80 years since the House was really a bipartisan chamber.
Right.
And
there's a famous movie line that I love that says it's only after you've lost everything that you're free to do anything, and that's kind of like that, where they have nothing, so they can do whatever they want. They don't feel there's no, you don't have a job to lose. You don't have a cushy position to get rid of. You don't have to be in line because the Speaker doesn't give you anything anyway. So what are you going to lose, your parking space? You really can't. So,
and of course the issue is important, who the governor is or whatever, but the political story, I think, of 2018 is going to be the General Assembly, in particular the House of Representatives. Will Mattiello win or not? That still is an open question. And if not, who's going to step into the breach? That's number one. And secondly, given the showing that the progressives have made in the primaries this evening, and certainly given the Republicans, they're going to need to peel those votes. The power will never be the same, I think, for the Speaker of the House, whether it's Mattiello or someone else.
Right. And let's remember that the primary victories that the progressives won, in most of those, there is no viable Republican.
Yeah, so it is the other
opponent. So they're in, and so the problem has been defined, I think, and it's going to be for Mattiello to try to solve it. It's going to get interesting. It really is.
And some of the progressives, are not quiet. We're freshmen or something like that. Now, all the districts have not come in from Providence. I think 83% of the precincts are in and whatever. But Sam Bell, for example, who's the person who formed the Rhode Island Progressive leadership, he challenged the NRA PAC spending at the Board of Elections, etc. This is not someone who's going to sit at the back bench and not be heard of if he ends up being elected. So they're getting leaders who are going to be mouthy. They're getting women who are infuriated, as we said earlier tonight, about the abortion issue, the sex abuse, civil statute, etc. They're not going to be quiet. There's definitely a ruckus going to happen up at that State House, particularly in the House of Representatives.
Well, Sam Bell, if he wins the general, I don't even know if he has an opponent. He'll be in the Senate, though. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. With
the Senate is
excellent point with
Dominic Ruggiero. The Senate is typically more left wing in the state anyway, or more ideologically left, I should say. Right. Don't you think? Usually?
Definitely more liberal, but Bell is not a person who thinks that unions are right or wrong. You know, they're always right, they're never wrong, etc. He's very discreet in the positions that, in fact, he takes. Certainly, he challenged the NRA. So the strong gun lobby is not going to have a very welcome mat put out for them if Bell ends up there, etc. So it's going to be raucous sections. I think sections coming up come May.
And gentleman is up on the TV screen right now is the third candidate in this whole gubernatorial race, Joe Trillo. The idea, we were talking a little bit off the air about the effect of the I guess the 20% or so that Bob Healy got, and whether or not those people still exist. Is that an individual Bob Healy thing? Is that just because he was so charismatic and so many years had built up that following, or is that something we need to think that they're out there up for grabs still?
They're not the typical Trillo voter. I feel that Bob Healy was very unique. He attracted people who were rebels, who didn't like government to start with in terms of traditional candidates, etc. So I don't think they're going to transmutate over to Joe Trillo.
Yeah, it's really hard to say, you know, how many, like you kind of alluded to, Arlene, is how many of the people who voted for Bob Healy did he actually bring into the election who probably may not come back without him? In that sense, he didn't steal many votes from Fung, you know.
Right.
But I think Joe Trillo,
he brought his own beer to the party in that case.
I think Joe Trillo has the real potential to take votes from Fung directly.
Well, speaking of the mayor himself, he is on the line with us right now. Mayor Allan Fung, congratulations, Mayor.
Congratulations, Mayor.
Congratulations,
thank you,
Mayor.
everyone.
Say hi to Arlene Violet's in studio. Nick Gorham's in studio with me, and it's a big night for you. You are going to go in a rematch with the governor. Your reaction to what happened today?
No, hi everyone. Thank you for having me on. You know, I wanted, before I go into reaction, you know, we're very excited, but I want to take a moment to thank Patricia Morgan and also Gio for running, you know, very good campaigns. You know, Gio, was very classy, and Patricia ran a very spirited campaign. I expected nothing less, but they both called, you know, and conceded graciously, and, you know, wish me the best going forward. So I'm excited. We've got a lot of momentum, and the real issues is, you know, the incompetence of Governor Raimondo, and I'm ready to tackle it from day one, starting tomorrow, making sure we get our message out.
She is already today in her speech started talking about how you are a Trump apologist, that you are someone who won't stand up to Trump. It seems to me that she's going to do everything she can to tie Donald Trump around your neck and hope it. I guess the sinking ships drop all kinds of anchors. Yeah. So, what's your reaction to that, and what do you plan to do to fight it?
Yeah, the reason that she's doing that is because she's running from her own anchor around her neck. You know, the UHIP anchor, DCYF, kids, you know, that have been seriously hurt or even, you know, died. You know, just a couple of weeks ago, Gina Jam on 195, where it took, you know, people 3 hours to get from, you know, the Massachusetts line on 195 to Pawtucket. You know, that's incompetent. She's running from her record. And remember, it all even started with cooler and warmer, one after failure after another. And it's time for new leadership. I've got the record of results, and we saw it today in the primary. People seeing what we've done in Cranston. And, you know, we've taken the city out of dark days to one of the best places to live in America, one of the best places to raise a child. And that's the same type of philosophy I'm going to take to turn around our state of Rhode Island.
Mayor, will you debate her on WPRO and on the major TV channels?
Absolutely.
Good.
I'm looking forward to, you know, having many debates, especially, you know, going after her record of incompetence. You know, it's bad leadership. You know, I think all of you know how much time she spent out of state, not focusing on doing the job. I love Bill Belichick's motto, do your job. That's how I've operated in Cranston. That's how I'll operate at the State House, because by her being not focused on all of us in Rhode Island, focused on her Wall Street friends, people all across the country from Chicago to, you know, Los Angeles. You know, what kind of connection does she have to having a fundraiser at the Playboy Mansion? That's not Rhode Islanders. That's not Rhode Island values. I'm going to bring that back to us. And I'm going to, you know, pound pound that out during those debates.
Well, I'm glad you weren't at the Playboy Mansion, Mayor. Mayor, congratulations. Hard-fought victory, and you've got to be mighty proud of your team tonight.
No, and I want to throw a special shout-out to my team. They did an excellent job. We really executed on our Get Out the Vote plan. We've got hundreds of volunteers all across Rhode Island, and this is how we're going to take our state back. We're going to win this and make sure that Rhode Islanders have a government that they deserve, and we can do better than Raimondo's incompetence that we've had to survive through the past 4 years.
Mayor, you had a sometimes contentious, chicken-laden primary situation. You're going to need Republicans to get behind you. There seems to be a lot of for whatever reason, a rift in the Republican Party when it comes to you and others. Do you think now when Patricia Morgan calls you, is there a chance she's going to come out and help you to go out and campaign? Do you think you can bring those people with you? Are you going to try?
I certainly hope so. I have tried, and this is one of the things, Patricia, decided to go down whatever her route that she decided for her campaign. I stayed above it, and everyone saw. Not a single negative mailer, not a single negative ad against, Patricia. I made sure I just focused on all of my message about the record of results we've had in Cranston, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And hopefully many of her supporters see that. And actually, I've gotten texts and calls from numerous of her supporters saying that they're glad and that they hope that she will come, behind me. Gio expressed his support for me tonight.
Are you inviting the Patricia Morgan supporters to join you? Do you want them to join you, Mayor?
Oh, absolutely. I've never, and both of you saw, the divisive campaign we went through in 2014. I learned a lot going through it. I've come back with more discipline. That's why I didn't throw a single punch at Patricia or Gio. We stayed above board on all this and just doing it the right way, talking to people in their backyards. I absolutely want their support because this is the only way we're going to save our state is standing united against what is going on with Raimondo's incompetent leadership.
Well, you're going to go into this race knowing, going into the primary knowing at least, that last time it was a late, was it September, October surprise that Bob Healy was going to get into the whole thing. But now you have a third party. Joe Trillo is doesn't look like he's going to be getting out of this race anytime soon. Are you confident that you can keep him from chipping away at you and get enough people over to your side to rip away from either Raimondo, the unaffiliated voters, the people out there who are kind of looking or willing and able to be changed anyway?
No, absolutely. And like I said, I learned a lot from the last election, last general too. Both the primary and the general, taught me a lot of lessons, and I've come back stronger. We are going to run a great campaign to make sure that we take back our state, regardless of who the opponent is. And certainly Joe Trillo is doing his own job of getting however publicity that he wants to get by running into a rock. Certainly Mr. Healy never did that, with his boat.
Mayor, have you given thought, I'm sure you have, how much funds you think you're going to need to amply get your message out via the media?
And we are going to have the appropriate resources because we've been raising all throughout, and we've already qualified for that $1.2 million match. We're going to continue to raise funds to have the necessary resources to stay competitive. We've already seen that this race is on the national spotlight, and the Republican Governors Association is already reserved, like months ago, $1.5 million because this is a winnable seat. The governor has one of the worst approval ratings of any governor up for re-election in the country, and she can't run from her record. That's why she's trying to deflect to anywhere else. You see that in all of our press conferences. It's always someone else's fault. Well, she's not going to be able to run away from her record. She's not going to be able to run away from me. I'm going to make sure that she, sees me in her rearview mirror every time. We are going to get our message out and be competitive because it is about Rhode Islanders. We've had hundreds for this primary. I expect thousands of people to join our cause, our mission, and take back our state.
Mayor, we got the Speaker of the House had a bad night tonight. Looks like the General Assembly, because there are no Republican races and a lot of these, or Republican candidates anyway, a lot of these General Assembly races are going to go to their very left-wing primary winners tonight. It looks that the progressives are going to have at least a better showing in the General Assembly and the legislature. that's going to be a thing. Do you worry that that's a movement that's going to, A, if you do become governor, going to stop you from getting anything done, or B, at least be a kind of a sign that maybe the people of Rhode Island are moving left, and that, a guy like you is just not their cup of tea?
Well, all the more reason why I need to be elected, because, the more that this state keeps moving that far left towards an agenda of reckless spending, higher taxes, we can't afford it. We've got people leaving in droves. There's not enough opportunities, good paying opportunities for the next generation. What is going to be left? Disaster when everyone goes, and just high tax burden because of all these free benefits that the governor keeps promising. We saw just 2 days ago. Now all of a sudden she wants to throw on the backs millions on the back of local municipalities and schools by saying we are going to put all day pre-K in every city and town in Rhode Island at a cost of $15 million. That's reckless. If she was that passionate about it, why didn't she announce this months ago, not 2 days before primary? It's more of her, attitude, her extremely left-wing attitude of, free, it's for me. But someone's got to pay for it, and that's the taxpayers of Rhode Island. I'm going to be that check against not only her reckless spending, but that of those that got into office today.
All right, Mayor, thank you. I got to run
Thanks
for the news. I appreciate it. Congratulations, Allan Fung, on the win tonight, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Allan Fung, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to run to the newsroom right now, get an update. Revolution Softwash News Center and Bill Haberman.
WEAN-FM Wakefield Peacedale from the New England Truck Solutions Studio. Proud to be the new local home of Providence College Friars basketball. This is News Talk 99.7 FM and AM 630 WPRO Providence, a Cumulus station.
From the Revolution Softwash News Center, this is the WPRO News at 10 o'clock.
WPRO's 2018 Election Central.
Well, you just heard him, your Republican nominee for governor, Allan Fung, live here on WPRO after his victory over Patricia Morgan and Giovanni Ferrosi. Governors won her party's nomination. Another 4-year term. One race still outstanding, the race for lieutenant governor. This remains too close to call. Again, with 92% of the precincts reporting, the Board of Elections says that Democrat Dan McKee, the incumbent, that he is holding about a 1,700 vote lead over his progressive challenger, Aaron Regenberg. WPRO's Paul Zangari, he is in Pawtucket right now with the McKee campaign. Lieutenant Governor has already, Paul, spoken to his supporters there. He is not yet claiming victory, but again, he is ahead by 1,700 votes, Paul.
Yeah, he is very upbeat. In fact, so is the crowd as they are beginning to leave here at La Arepa. It's a restaurant in Pawtucket at the Lincoln Line. And just a big crowd, the restaurant quite full. And while it was somber early on, the fact that when we're this close to the end and we have a lead, according to the McKee people, it's time to be upbeat. And in fact, Mayor McKee, there I am having a flashback, Lieutenant Governor McKee saying that, yeah, it's close.
But I'd rather be where we are than where Poland is right now.
And in fact, the mayor, I did it again. The lieutenant governor telling me that he's pretty confident that the paper ballots are going to go his way. And as we know, there are quite a few of them out there, several thousand, I think 7,000. But he told me that they made a good effort to turn out the vote among the people who voted early or took emergency ballots. So he's feeling pretty good about it.
All righty, that's WPRO's Paul Zangari. Again, he is with the McKee campaign. Again, he is holding about a 1,700 vote lead over his challenger, State Representative Aaron Regenberg. We'll keep you up to date as our coverage continues in the evening. Let's head to the campaign headquarters of the winners. We'll start first with the governor, who's won the party's nomination. Her supporters chanting 4 more years. WPRO's Steve Klemkin is at Union Station in Providence. Steve?
Bill, that's the cheer we heard. The cheer went up from the crowd here, calling for 4 more years. The governor led the crowd. Governor joins me now. Governor Raimondo, congratulations on your win this evening.
Thank you, Steve. It's a great night. Obviously, we have a lot of supporters around here. We're excited, and of course, we're going to get back at it.
You attributed your win to a lot of hard work. What else? Shoe leather.
Sure, we never take anything for granted. We worked hard morning to night every day, and that's the way we're going to do it from here forward.
What can we expect in the campaign ahead? You and Allan Fung head-to-head now, once again.
More of the same. Take nothing for granted. Work as hard as possible. Earn every vote. And just remind voters that just a few years ago, we had the highest unemployment rate in the country, and now people are working. We have a record number of jobs in Rhode Island. That wasn't by accident. There's a lot at risk in this campaign, and we can't go backwards.
Campaign is different. Have you learned? I haven't had much time to reflect, but have you learned anything from this one?
Never underestimate the power of direct phone calling and door knocking. At the end of the day, it's Rhode Islanders reaching out to their neighbors, saying, I think you should vote. I think you should vote for Gina. That's what got us over the top. And they respond. You know, the TV ads help, but at the end of the day, it's personal contact with neighbors and friends saying, vote for this person and get her over the top.
Debates upcoming?
There will be many, I'm sure, and, you know, we're excited for them.
Well, we welcome you into our studios.
Thank
Governor,
you.
congratulations once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Governor Gina Raimondo meeting the crowd here and thanking them. And as she said, that was her hallmark in this campaign, the hard work. And because for her, at least, it's paid off tonight. Bill?
All righty, WPRO Steve Clampkin with the governor, as you can hear at Union Station in Providence. Let's head on out to the Shriners Imperial Room in Cranston. As we join live, WPRO's Tessa Roy is with Allan Fung's campaign. Tessa, Mayor Fung, another shot at Gina Raimondo coming up in November of this year.
That's right. Well, you know, Bill, I feel a little bit left out. You know, I'm the only one who doesn't seem to have my candidate right here with me. But anyways, we did just speak to Mayor Fung, where he made a lot of the same points that he did in his speech. You know, criticizing 195 gridlock and potholes and too many task forces. But anyways, Fung told us he has a record of getting things done in Cranston and says he'll take that statewide if he wins. That's what he says he'll do differently this time around. He says that he has a record of, like I said, he says that the governor has a record of incompetence, whereas he has one of getting things done. He knocks the governor on DCYF problems and UHIP, of course. Now, we know Allan Fung was criticized for not doing any debates, but I asked him if he's committing to it this time around, and he says he's looking forward to doing numerous debates. So we'll see what happens there, Bill.
Yeah, we will see indeed. That was quite a story during the primary season. WPRO's Tessa Roy, she is at the Shriners Room again in Cranston with Mayor Fung. So again, the rematch is set. Gina Raimondo to meet Allan Fung in November. We continue to stand by for news. Does not look like we're going to have a final result in the lieutenant governor's race. Again, Dan McKee is holding about a 1,700 vote lead. Some of the other results, Mayor Lorza has won his party's nomination. He was an easy winner here in Providence over his two challengers. Mayor Lorza is moving forward here. We did have one incumbent mayor who was defeated in the town of Cumberland. The results that we have coming out of Cumberland, I've been watching the precincts there again. 90% of the votes that were cast there. Now we have 100%. So again, Jeffrey Mutter, the winner in the town of Cumberland, defeating the incumbent Bill Murray, again with a 54 to 46% of the vote. Some of the other races that we've been watching here in Providence, again, Moira Walsh claiming victory in her legislative district. She was facing a primary challenge there from Michael Earhart. Sam Bell, of course, he was a leader in the progressive wing of the party. He taking out incumbent state senator Paul Jabor tonight in tonight's primary voting. Again, our coverage continues. WPRO's Election Central, the primary night edition. Matt Allen, joined in studio by Arlene, Violet, and Nick Gorham. Again, that coverage continues coming up in just a moment. WPRO News Time is 10:07.
The votes have been cast. Now it's time for the results. This is WPRO's Election Central coverage of the Rhode Island primary, bringing you the latest results and analysis from the voice of Southern New England. Now, here's your host, Matt Allen, and the WPRO News team on News Talk 99.7 FM and AM 630 WPRO.
4 more years. That's right. 4 more years. 4 años más. We're going to get it done.
Tonight, you recognize that I am one of you, and you trust to lead this revolution to take back our state. Thank you for the confidence that you placed in me tonight. I appreciate this awesome responsibility you have given me, and together, we will get this done.
Those are the two candidates. Are going to have there's 3 candidates technically, but tonight in a primary, of course, you have the winners, Gina Raimondo and Allan Fung, both heartily won. There is obviously going to be a rematch from last time with a similar situation, although a little bit different, with Joe Trillo being the third party candidate in this, and traditional wisdom being that eats away at the Republican, the more conservative vote. Usually third-party candidates in Rhode Island do that anyway. Arlene Violet's in studio. Nick Gorham's in studio. We want to open the phones up to anybody who wants to have a reaction. A lot of people saying they were going into a primary today, during calling into the shows, saying they're going in to muck around and to vote against people and all their strategy. How did your strategy work out for you today? I just said to Doug when he was playing the clip of the governor and she's yelling 4 more years. I said, you're trying to get some of our audience members to jump off the Newport Bridge? What's going on over there? But that's, everybody has their point of view. So all points of view are welcome, even if those of you out there who are excited about what happened tonight. Our numbers, 438-WPRO, the toll-free number, 1-800-321-WPRO. Email me, matt@630WPRO.com, and we'll get those emails in. I want to give you an opportunity, both you and Arlene and Nick, to kind of give us a summation of what you learned tonight. Is what are we looking at? Set the scene for us for the general election. Either one of you who wants to start. For Nick, you want to start? You want to give me what do you think? What are we looking at for the general election? What does the governor have to do to beat the mayor? What does the mayor have to do to beat the governor and Joe Trillo? What do you figure from your experience?
Well, I think the governor has to run on her record, obviously, and she does have a lot to brag about. It just is a matter of whether you ideologically agree with how she did it. Mm-hmm. She brought a lot of business into the state by giving out a lot of tax incentives and what many people call making special deals for the few instead of lowering taxes for all. Of course, she was constrained by the General Assembly, but I think she's got some pretty good bragging points to make. She is fixing the roads. It may not be 100% efficient, especially if you're driving
195
westbound on 195 a couple weeks ago.
But that was nimble. They reacted to it fairly quickly, and they stopped it and actually made the lanes bigger. And
I think she has a DOT director who has endeared himself to the media, which is very important, and Peter Alviti. So she's got some really good things to campaign on. She's got a lot of money. She's got a lot of people all over the country pulling for her. She's a woman, and I think this is a good year for women to be running for office more than ever, running in the General Assembly. On Allan Fung's side, he's got to show the people of Rhode Island that he can do a better job, and I think, he ran a great campaign in winning his primary, but he's got to come up with more than just incompetence about the governor. It's going to take more than that to win the race. He's got to show his platform. Why is he so much better than the governor? And, in the primary, he didn't really have the platform to do that. Now he does, and he's got to do it.
Is the economy, Arlene, always seems to be a factor. If people are comfortable, if people are working, they have their money coming in, they're not going to get out there and try and make any waves. Rhode Island, supposedly we have a 4.1% unemployment rate, which is basically nothing, right, at this point. But people, when you hear them, they seem dissatisfied in general. The polls show that they're dissatisfied with the direction of the state. Does that factor in here? And does that give Allan Fung a little juice? Or?
Well, it gives them certainly a launch pad. However, disaffection with what the current situation seems to be the major disease in Rhode Island, because I'm trying to think of a time in my lifetime that anybody was ever feeling great about the direction of the state. I certainly can't improve on perfection. You did a great and fair job there, Nick. I think assessing Gina Raimondo's situation and what Allan Fung certainly needs to do. The Raimondo people have to come up with a specific strategy, though, about not just what her accomplishments are, but they've got to meet head on the problems, the UHIP problem, cooler and warmer, which Allan mentioned this evening. Allan Fung mentioned, and Gina always has some issue that dogs her. As general treasurer and going into her first election, it was the pension reform. It was the right thing to do, probably, right? It was. Not probably. I think it was the right thing to do. But it hurt her. Yeah. The road tolls are the issue this time around, which is a mega issue. Yeah. And I think they need to address some of these things that are perceived as negatives for her. Not that they're going to change the minds of the people who are negative, but you've got to say something to dress up what looks like the incompetence.
You know what I hear all the time? It's part of my daily survival mantra as well. Mm-hmm. People say again and again, it's just so expensive to live in Rhode Island. Yeah. There are just so many fees and so many taxes, and that leads me to tell you my daily mantra, survival mantra, which is Rhode Island's a great place to live, but it sure is expensive, and the government isn't always good.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I think you've got to show the people, you know what? We can fix those latter two. We can make it less expensive to live here, and we can make the government great.
How do you do that, though, if you're pushing bigger government programs and more of a more progressive agenda is all about... Yeah, it's one of those things that I think you're right. There's got to be the thing that I found that Allan Fung and I think Gina Raimondo both have in common is, as candidates in general, or as just public figures in general, I don't know them personally at all, they have a hard time connecting.
Yeah, they don't show passion.
Yeah, everything is poll tested. Everything is robotic. I mean, you can go down if it sounds like you're reading a laundry list of Gina Raimondo's failures to me. Oh, then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this.
Sounds memorized.
It just sounds. It's just kind of like it's canned. It's like you got to learn. You got to sell that to people. You got to bring it home to them. You got to say, listen, and you got to be aggravated about it. You got to be personally offended by it, like legitimately.
Maybe they should take passion lessons from Joe Trillo. That's a possibility.
Yeah, he's going to bring that into it.
And it's that connectedness, and I don't know how you can't manufacture it, right? It's either you have it or you don't.
Every consultant, as we know, says just do the icing on the cake. People don't really care about issues, but when you come right down to it, every single budget every year is all about priorities. Okay,
right.
Now I don't mind the programs per se that you promote, but they never talk about where you're going to get the money to do this.
Right.
Okay, and that's what the problem is, and I sit there and I don't believe any of it, because I know it's just pie in the sky rhetoric,
right.
And it's awful to have that attitude, but I do have that attitude, and I think a lot of Rhode Islanders feel the way I do, that this is just yakety yak. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do that, and it's like, what? Yeah. Well, how are you going to do this? Yeah. You know, you don't have a magic wand. Where's it coming from, and where you're going to get the money for it?
Well, and unfortunately, what happens is because you're somebody who cares about that kind of thing, that makes sense to you. There are people out there, they don't know where the money comes from. They don't understand it. They don't want to know, or they get the promise. That's all they care.
That's right.
They're like, I don't
pay any. Beneficiary.
Right. I'm the beneficiary. You make a promise to me, and a lot of these promises are really, there's stuff that would probably never impact their lives, and it's a lot of social stuff that gets involved. You know, like not anymore, but like a gay marriage thing, to get into that nonsense where it's just all these social issues that people get wrapped up in while the fiscal ones fall apart, and that's where you live and that's where you breathe, and it gets infuriating. Now, Doug's telling me that Channel 6 is reporting that Morgan is not going to endorse Fung. Just want to throw that out there, too, that they're reporting that, I guess, Morgan, I don't know, she's not going to, which, you know, I got to tell you, honestly, at least she's genuine. It drives me crazy when these people... The governor's up there talking about Matt Brown. She wouldn't condescend to be in the same room with him to debate him. Yet she called him. He's a great guy. Good race. Fantastic. That's wonderful. You know.
I told you they always close their ranks.
It's what it is. I mean, that's what they do, right? He's a liar and bad faith actor, but a great guy.
Yeah. But see, that's
it drives me crazy. But that's the way it's done, right, Arlene? That's the way it's done.
No, I wouldn't endorse someone if I lost to them, just to endorse them.
Yeah.
And if that's how she feels, I like that. At least that's genuine. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's it. But I'm so sick of the phoniness that pervades politics today. And you just gave the example. Gee, he's gonna be running for office soon, Nick. I don't know. He's got all the speeches down pat over here.
Well, you can repeat them in their sleep. You know it's bad when you can have these two candidates, right? These two candidates right now, I could think in my head, I could write a script, what the debate will be like, write it down, and after debate night, I'll have you both come back, and I'll read it to you, and we'll see. And we'll see if it matches. That's when you know it's bad.
Yeah.
And you need somebody to shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some calls in here. People are calling in. Our number is 438-WPRO, the toll-free number, 1-800-321-WPRO. Dougie, I have no idea what the format is in this hour, so just let me know when we have to break and whatnot. You think I'm a broadcast professional, I promise. We should break first, then we'll take the calls. All right, Scott and Peter, stay there. 438-WPRO, toll-free number, 1-800-321-WPRO. You take me out of the night for a little while, and I forget how to do it. We come back, we'll talk with you. Arlene's in studio. Brad's not here. Brad's progeny is here. He's here in spirit. Nick Gorham's in studio, and we're going to be here till 11 o'clock taking your calls, getting your primary night reaction coming up next.
The latest information on tonight's results at 0 and 30 past from the WPRO news team. Depend on it. Now, back to Election Central coverage of the Rhode Island primary. Sponsored by Marshall Building and Remodeling on News Talk 99.7 FM and AM 630 WPRO.
You know, it was a good campaign, and you can never underestimate just hard work in a campaign. It pays
Money
off.
helps.
Absolutely, but that comes from hard work. You know, it's just effort.
Yeah, political effort. I mean, it's listen. You cannot deny that the governor of the state of Rhode Island is a prolific politician. She knows how to raise money. She knows how to go out there and build a team. She's gotten a lot of, she is not known as the most progressive, I guess, person in the world, but she has a lot of progressives behind her. A lot of the female candidates we've talked about, more left wing than she is, saying that she's good for their agenda. And she pulled it off tonight. Arlene Violet's in studio. Nick Gorham's in studio. We're here. We're taking your phone calls. 438-WPRO, the toll-free number, 1-800-321-WPRO. We're kind of talking off the air about the passion and about the way that our politicians, specifically in this race, but in other races as well, they kind of did the poll-tested. And I say this often. We're in a crisis of quality in America today. We want to debate. If people they don't know this. I don't think they can articulate it. But they want some depth. They want something tangible to the people who want to be their leaders. And when they don't get it, I mean, that's why I think people voted for Donald Trump. They liked the fact that he wasn't, I shouldn't say this. He wasn't polished. He wasn't coming across as phony.
Came across authentically.
And even if he's not, he thinks he is. You know what I mean? It's a thing. And when he said something, he believes it. Now, whether or not it's true is another thing, but you know what I'm saying? But he believes it, and he thinks it's true, and he thinks it's important, and he thinks he's got it right. And there's people, that's like moths to a flame. People like that. Yeah. And by the way, I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that it looks like Arlene will not be working in the government coming tonight. We didn't mention the fact that you will not have to be Inspector General now. Although, if Mayor Fung reaches out, would you do the similar thing?
We need for 33 years. I've been talking about the need for an Inspector General. There are many things that happen in government that are not criminal.
Yeah.
Or the statute of limitations is runs, which then makes it unenforceable as a criminal act. But there is the potential for so much waste and corruption. Ken Block has found it, etc. It doesn't have to be me whatsoever, and I've said that. Sure. But we need an Inspector General, and I welcome any of these candidates putting forward their commitment to an Inspector General.
So
Absolutely
if
necessary.
Somebody called you tomorrow who's running for governor and said, "Come do it for me, Arlene, please,"
I'd have a discussion with them. Sure.
Okay. Scott is calling from Rehoboth. Scott, say hi to Nick Gorham and Arlene Violet and Matt Allen. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Scott.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Good, thank you.
You guys on the air. Arlene, I'm a big fan. Matt, I'm also a very big fan.
Thank you.
Great to hear you guys on the air tonight. Mr. Gorham, I'm not too familiar with your work. I apologize.
That's all right. If you were, you would be a fan.
So I live in Rehoboth now because I left Rhode Island. I spent the first 30-plus years of my life in Rhode Island, and I ended up leaving because Massachusetts had this crazy thing called an economy, so I decided to go there and live and work there. I've been watching this election pretty closely only because I was interested to see how the lack of debate would affect the outcome of the primary election. And it's kind of disappointing, but also expected to see that it had virtually no effect. And I'm wondering if this is going to have an ongoing and in future elections and in future primaries have an effect on future elections because, and I got to apologize. I got a lot of thoughts going through my mind right now, so I'm trying not to get too tangential, but as far as the lack of debate, the lack of the leaders in the polls debating how this is going to affect future primary and future general elections. I mean, I heard Arlene talking earlier about how it's, the same blah, 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 and Matt was talking about how the debates upcoming can be pretty much pre-scripted. If you want to break it down, I mean, Gina could technically crush Mayor Fung with her wallet. And that's the unfortunate truth of all of this. But where do you guys stand on moving forward with primaries and with general elections, the lack of leaders in the polls to debate and the outcome of tonight's primary?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cynical thing, right? I mean, it's
my
cynical.
Yeah, my fear is we gave the imprimatur to not having debate, and for me that is terrible for democracy. And what we've done is take one more step along the line of guaranteeing that only rich people will run because they're the only people who can either put money into their own campaign. people who are compromised by public interest groups, frankly, that aren't public interest, but their own PACs, etc., that will give them the money to run. And eventually you'll be able to say anything about anybody who dares to challenge you who doesn't have your kind of money, because you'll run a negative ad about them and you won't be able to recoup if you don't have the same money that the person you're running against has. So the lack of debate to me is almost the death knell, or we're on the way that way as far as elections.
It ranks up there for me like these tele-town hall meetings that they do, where they don't even come in to show up. They'll open up a phone line and have people call in with screened questions.
Yes.
It's what's the point?
I know.
I mean, get in here and debate your points of view. You supposed geniuses.
There used to be a day. What happens to the days of candidates running, no matter how far ahead they were in the polls? You always ran like you were 10 points behind. And that didn't happen in the primary, and I think it sets a sad standard.
Yeah, it's respect.
I think, Nick, I just think the proliferation of the internet as a tool, and just the amount of money that's spent buying media time, it's enabled many candidates to say, hey, look, a debate is just another medium. It was good when Lincoln and Douglas were running for the Senate back in the 1850s, but it's gone. But I disagree. I think with modern media and the ability of everybody to watch a debate and watch their candidate at that one point where they just
unscripted,
yes,
on the spot, and you learn so much from that,
and know what you're talking about. We're longing for these quality debates, to have these knockdown, drag out, issue-oriented things. I am anyway. All right, it's 10:30. Joe Trillo has dialed in. He's going to be an independent candidate for governor. He is an independent candidate for governor. Joe, stay right there. We're going to get to you in 2 seconds. Right now, 10:30, we get a news update. Let's go out to our newsroom, Revolution Software's News Center, Bill Haverman. Hey, Bill.
All right, good evening, Matt. At 10:30, again, our Election Central coverage continues now. We continue to watch this lieutenant governor's race now, and seeing numbers from the Board of Election now, 97% reporting again. Dan McKee continues to hold a very, very small lead over Aaron Regenberg. Latest numbers are seen here again with 97% of the precincts reporting. Looks like McKee continues to hold a lead of about 1,500 votes over Aaron Regenberg. McKee is not declaring victory, and Regenberg is not declaring defeat. Board of Elections is awaiting more numbers, and again, these much talked right about candidates. And at WPRO's Paul Zangari, he is standing by at Regenberg headquarters. We hope to check in with him coming up in a moment. He's just spoken with Aaron Regenberg. In fact, he's going to join us. He is at the Wild Colonial on South Main Street. Paul Zangari, you're at Regenberg headquarters. They're not throwing in the towel in the Lieutenant Governor's primary, are they?
No, that is correct. And the interesting thing is now that I've been to both of the candidates for Lieutenant Governor's headquarters, and the message is pretty much the same in both places. They're upbeat. As you mentioned, neither of them is ready to throw in the towel, and neither of them is ready to declare victory either. But I was talking with Aaron Regenberg's campaign manager, Jake London, and he was saying they had a good effort to get out paper ballots, so they are hopeful, and they're looking forward to what's going to unfold in the next anywhere from 2 to 12 hours. But right now, the candidates already left. In fact, it was done before I managed to get here. But there are some supporters here. Essentially, I guess you could say they're sitting there and playing Jim Rummy.
It's WPRO's Paul, which is not a bad thing to do on any night. Paul Zangari, who is with the Regenberg folks at the Wild Colonial on South Main Street in Providence. A little bit earlier, he was speaking with Lieutenant Governor McKee at his quarters for the night up in Pawtucket.
Well, I think that, you always like to be in the lead, but not, and we're going to go right to the end. You got a great group of people here. We've done our homework, and so I think we'll fare very well on the write-ins. We know that we are very strong in that area, and so we're going to carry a lead in. When the final votes get in, we'll see what the spread is.
Okay, and that spread right now, again, with 97% of the precincts reporting Lieutenant Governor holding a 1,500 vote lead over Aaron Regenberg. Again, that is undecided. Among the decideds, very top of the ticket, the rematch is on. Governor Raimondo has won her party's nomination for another 4-year term. She is going to face Republican Allan Fung. Let's continue team coverage now. WPRO's Steve Klemkin has more with the Raimondo campaign at Union Station.
Every election day is nerve-wracking, says Governor Gina Raimondo, but she never felt her primary run was in jeopardy. She attributed her win to hard work.
It was a good campaign, and you can never underestimate just hard work in a campaign. It pays
Money
off.
helps.
Absolutely, but that comes from hard work. It's just effort.
Raimondo vowed to hit the campaign trail early, saying Allan Fung would roll back the progress she has made on creating jobs and improving the economy. In Providence, Steve Klamkin, WPRO News.
Again, as we say, the rematch is on. It is Republican Allan Fung who has won his party's nomination. Again, he will face Gina Raimondo again, much the same as 2014. It's Raimondo and Fung redux here in Rhode Island with the Fung people at the Shriners Imperial Room in Cranston. Here's WPRO's Tessa Roy.
Mayor Allan Fung declares victory on Wednesday night after he defeats rivals Patricia Morgan and Giovanni Ferrosi. Fung took about 56% of the vote, securing his spot on the ballot next to Governor Gina Raimondo for a second time this November. Independent candidate Joe Trillo is also in the race, but Fung thinks he'll be able to win over all voters by promising to expand what he calls his record of results statewide. Fung was confident as he knocked Governor Gina Raimondo on a number of issues, especially UHIP, which he says he'll do whatever it takes to fix, even if it means going back to pencil and paper. While Fung took hits during the primary for dodging debates, he tells me he's looking forward to numerous debates this time around. In Cranston, Tessa Roy, WPRO News.
Providence Mayor Lorza wins the Democratic nomination, 58% of the vote to 24% for Kobe Dennis, just 18% for Robert Gerolvio. We did have one incumbent mayor go down in the town of Cumberland. Bill Murray is out. He is the loser. And that town's Democratic primary, Jeffrey Mutter, is the winner there, 54 to 46%. We're in the home stretch, your Election Central coverage. Matt Allen continues our live broadcast as we break this down. Arlene Violet is with us, the former Attorney General and former State Senator Nick Gorham, as we break down the results of tonight's primary election. Election Central coverage continues. WPRO News time is 10:35.
Now, with the results of today's election, here's Matt Allen.
I learned a lot from the last election, last general too. Both the primary and the general, taught me a lot of lessons, and I've come back stronger. We are going to run a, great campaign to, make sure that we take back our state, regardless of who the opponent is.
Mayor Allan Fung just joined us a few minutes, about half hour ago, actually. I'm sorry, and he is the winner of the Republican primary tonight. Gina Raimondo won the Democratic primary. So, any visions that you had of any sort of really big change? Only really big change. We're still waiting for the lieutenant governor's race. That's at this point, it looks like it's too close to call. We're going to go to the mail ballots on that one, and it seems that former mayor and Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee seems to have that. We'd think they might be winning that on the paper ballots. And so that's where we are. The only real surprise is that, and that's not even really a surprise, not to me anyway, is that the progressives gained some traction in the General Assembly. The Speaker had a bad night. And so if he wins his race again this year for his district, who knows what happens to him in his speakership. He may have to go to as Nick said, have to go to the Republicans for a little bit of help. And speaking of Republicans in the House, a former Republican from the House, and his colleague is in studio here, Joe Trillo, independent candidate for governor, is dialed into the show. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, man.
Welcome.
Nice to talk to you and Arlene and Nick. It's been a long time since I've talked to you guys.
Yeah, it's nice to hear your voice.
So, Joe, you want to react to to what you saw tonight? No surprises?
There really were no surprises. Gina Raimondo was the incumbent. We expected her to win. It would have been a little scary to think that the progressives were strong enough to take them out, take her out. Mm-hmm. I look at the progressives like I look at communists. That's the way I see them. They're just so bad in every way for everything we stand for. Mm-hmm. Not that she's all that much better, but certainly Matt Brown is so far to the left. He's certainly a socialist. As far as the Republican primary, you got two Republicans in the room with you right now, and I've been a long-time Republican, now an independent. But as the race was coming together early on, and I've discussed this with you, Matt, before, mm-hmm. It was all, Allan Fung was treated like he was an incumbent from the past 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. He lied. He got reelected as mayor, knowing full well he was at the Republican Governors Association meeting like a month after he got elected as mayor of the city of Cranston, because I was at that meeting and I saw him there. So he's been a lie from day one. The man can't tell the truth about anything. I don't respect him. As a Republican, I could have never never supported him for governor, never. And that would have been expected of me to do. And, we go look over the years, and I'm thinking, when I was a loyal Republican, the people I had to support and hold my nose, and Link Chafee comes to my mind.
Oof.
How many times did I have to hold my nose and defend him and stand up for him? And it was very, very difficult. But Link Chafee was at least a decent guy. I see Allan Fung is not even a decent guy. He ran his police department like the mafia. He's like a little mafia boss. He calls upon his different departments in the city to go after his enemies. If you don't support him, he'll have the building inspector after you. If you don't support
Listen, you got to have.
him,
Do you have evidence of that? Do you have evidence of stuff like that? I mean,
I've got enough people that have told me about it. The problem is you can't get these people to come forward because they're still in the city. They're doing business.
Yeah.
So they don't want to put themselves out of business. It's stupid on their part. He's threatened people to take their jobs away because they didn't support him. The man is not a nice guy. And
well, I mean, I got to tell you, you saying that is one thing. That's okay, but then
Matt, discredit everything I just said.
Well, that's not the way this works. I could say all kinds of horrible things about anybody, but
it's not a court of law.
No, it's not a court of law, but people out there want to know that you're not just slinging it like any other politician would sling it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm telling you, there's enough people that have come to me with stories, and I've said, why don't you go public? I can't. You don't understand. I can't. They're afraid of them.
Yeah. Well, those stories worth telling is my point. If you're not going to get somebody to come...
They're going to get guts.
Yeah.
They're going to repeat it. They have to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Arlene, nobody wants to lose their job. Nobody wants to lose their business. And you know that as well as I do.
Well,
so you go back to the state...
I know you got to speak the truth, and some people, myself included, do lose your job for saying the truth. But I digress. But I love your passion, and I'm glad you're in this race, Joe, because we were talking even off air that you bring an element, and we can hardly wait for the debates.
Well, we'll look forward to the debates. Nick, I think of all the fights we had on the House floor. It was like we were fighting against a wall.
Yeah.
And we went in there day after day.
Yes, we did, day after day, and we did what we did because we believed in it. It was easy to take the side we took because we knew we were right.
Exactly. And there were many times we knew we weren't going to win.
Yeah.
But it was shining the light on the bad that was going on.
That's right.
Joe, you getting emotional?
I am.
Why are you getting emotional?
Because he's passionate about it.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm talking to one of my old warrior friends.
That's good. That's good,
thank
Joe.
you, Joe.
That's good.
Those were good times, no question about
It's
it.
nice to hear some emotion on issues as opposed to platitudes.
As you were talking about the mayor
I'm
of
taking it back
Cranston,
right now. I got to be honest. I didn't. Joe, you're a tough as nails type of guy.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would hear this kind of emotion from you.
Yeah.
Well, I try to keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
Joe, do you feel you're going to be getting the invitations to a debate? Or are they talking to you about thresholds? Or how's that look like it's playing out?
Arlene, right now I really don't know whether they will try to keep me out of debates. I'm sure that Allan Fung would do everything he possibly can to keep me out of a debate.
Certainly after the last 5 minutes, Joe, I would say.
Fairly certain he will.
Joe, so how do you do this? I mean, obviously, I've said this to you before. It seems like you go after Allan Fung a lot. You're passionate about him.
Well, I just think he's so bad.
No, I mean, but there are people out there who are, would agree with you more in terms of your political point of view and are saying to them, so why doesn't he ever go after that governor? She's worse. And
she's bad too. They're both bad. Here's the difference.
Yeah.
The difference is I bring a different skill set to the table than the both of them do. The both of them have never really run a business. They like to think they did, but they never really did. I've been in business all my life. My family's been in business. My grandfather came from Italy. He started a small business. My father was a small businessman. I am. My sister is. My children are. So we come from business. And what I bring to the table in terms of business is something that neither one of them can do. The other thing is, I have no reason to get in this race other than to want to do good. It's the only reason I want to get in the race. I figure at this point in time in my life, I've been pretty successful. I've got a wonderful wife, a wonderful family, and if I can give back, I'll be happy to give back. This state needs to be straightened out, and I think I'm the only guy that can straighten it out. And let me say this. Kudos to Patricia Morgan. She is a warrior also. I fought side by side her. It wasn't like me, you, Nick, and Bob. But we did the good fights. There's no question about it. And it would have been very difficult for me to run against Patricia Morgan. I have to tell you that.
Interesting.
Now that race is over. But we move forward and we see where it's going to go.
What do you have a pathway? I mean, how are you going to carve up enough to out of both sides?
I have a pathway, Matt, but I can't share it with you on the phone.
That's right.
Well, you've shared.
Well, you have a strategy, but you said you have a pathway to grab those votes you need.
You've shared so little with us tonight.
That strategy hopefully will come to fruition. We've only got 8 weeks or 7 more weeks to go. We'll see if the things come together. I'm putting a lot of my own money in this race. Hundreds of thousands of dollars will go into this race.
Wow.
I haven't taken any money from any of the lobbyists who roam the halls to try to control the building. And you know who they all are, Nick, because they're still there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, they're the subset below the surface that the average people never get to see, but they pull all the strings of all the players up on the surface for the most part.
Just want to let everybody know, it looks like with 99% of the precincts in, that looks like Dan McKee is going to remain lieutenant governor. He's got just about, 2,000, a little over 2,000. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see the math here. I'm looking at this. Yeah, I think it's a little over 2,000 vote lead with 51.1% of the vote there to Aaron Regenberg's 48.9. So you got. It looks like the progressive didn't. The progressive bellwether didn't. Or the canary in the coal mine didn't exist. Didn't come to fruition, Joe.
Well, I got to tell you, the thought of being governor and having Aaron Regenberg breathing down my back would have given me the heebie-jeebies.
So you don't have to worry about that, I don't think, at this point.
Well, thank you, Joe, for calling. We'll look forward to hopefully the upcoming debates, because I think you add a real spark to it all. And,
for the entertainment purposes, they'd be crazy not to put you in the debates for the television stations.
They'd be crazy because you will provoke the unscripted moments.
Well, hopefully we'll see. Although my people are telling me I need to back it down and just be very calm. And
what are the odds you're going to listen to him?
Laid back, 0 to none.
Always a pleasure.
All right, Joe, thank you.
Nice to talk to you again, Joe.
Joe Trillo, independent candidate for governor. We're going to take a break and we'll come back and we'll kind of wrap up the night, grab a call or two more. Matt Allen here in studio. Nick Gorham's with me. Arlene Violet. We'll wrap this primary election up night up coming up next.
The Matt Allen Show.
You have to be able to criticize people in power and say when they're wrong, and say when they're right. We live in a hashtag world where if you're not part of the hashtag, then the mob comes for you.
Weekdays noon to 3, WPRO. Matt Allen brings you the results tonight. Then talk with him about them tomorrow. The Matt Allen Show. Weekdays from noon to 3. Now back to Election Central coverage of the Rhode Island primary. Sponsored by Marshall Building and Remodeling on News Talk 99.7 FM and AM 630 WPRO.
All right, we got one more segment here. Matt Allen in studio on our election night coverage. Arlene Violet's in studio. Me, Nick Gorham's in studio. We got a couple of calls I want to get to as well. Pat Ford is dialed in from the Libertarian Party here in the state of Rhode Island. Hi, Pat. How are you?
Hi, Pat.
Hey, Arlene. Hey, everybody.
Welcome to you.
I want to bring up, and this will be kind of eke its way into the news cycle in the next day or two, what I believe are the two of the most exciting General Assembly races in Rhode Island. District 67, District 68.
Okay.
Why is that?
You've got hardcore progressives, poster children for the progressive movement in the state, running one-on-one elections with libertarians. Oh. I can't think of a more interesting angle in terms of the state's future. You have a choice. You can continue to choose big failed government with big failed ideas that cost lots of money and ultimately deny people their fundamental rights. You can continue to choose repression of your fundamental right to self-defense. You can continue to choose the failed path. Or one-on-one, steel cage deathmatch, baby, right? With libertarian candidates, highly principled, articulate libertarian candidates, both of whom ran last time in one-on-ones and got, well, one, in the case of Billy Hunt, got almost 39% of the vote. Now, in this case, they're going against a Loftus Asensio, who defeated Mr. Tiska, who was kind of the slide-in backdoor candidate replacement for Kenny Marshall, who has his own issues, and or the Prince of Darkness you can fight against in terms of your right to fundamental right to self-defense, Mr. Knight, who's running against Darrell Gould. Folks, I can't think. It doesn't. The differences don't get more starker than that.
Well, you're true. That's true. It just seems to me that these guys are very popular in their districts, and I think it seems to me, I don't know the values that libertarians promote. I don't know if they have those people in Rhode Island. That's what worries me about all this stuff, man. It's just the people have spoken. You know what I mean, Pat? And they like those people who like the big government, failed policies, and rights removers.
Well, yes and no, because a quick look along the Pawtucket, Rhode Island skyline and the Providence, Rhode Island skyline, you'll understand that there is no baseball stadium.
Yes.
By the way, Bill Murray in Cumberland.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right? No baseball stadium. So there are areas where folks are seeing the light, but I'm also going to make a call to all the WPRO Nation. If, in fact, you live within those districts, you've got, for all...
That's East Bay, for everybody who wants to know.
Yeah, East Bay. We're talking Bristol, Barrington, Warren.
Yep.
If you're upset about how things are moving, and we all agree that Rhode Island is not moving in the right direction, all right? Highest poverty rate in New England, failed school systems, crumbling infrastructure, tolls, you have on and on and on. If you truly hate that, you have a very clear choice. You need to support financially the two candidacies. You need to get out and vote for them, and you need to spread the word. And you need to get up off your keister, all right, and actually try to move the state in the right direction.
Well, there's the rub. There's the rub.
This is the canary in the coal mine. This is the litmus test.
A great advocate you are there, Pat Ford.
Pat, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. I mean, so you, as somebody, Nick, as somebody's running a few General Assembly races in your life, walking the district, right? Everybody brags about walking the district. I walked the district 5 times, 4 times.
Yeah.
That's really what it is, right? It's retail politics, going and shaking hands. It's not so much about ideology as much as it is about being seen.
Yes.
And being a good guy. And I want to help you do this. I want to do that. And that real one-on-one, customer service thing, right?
Carry a conversation and rarely talk about politics only, and when you do, only because they want to talk about it. That's the key.
Just be the nice guy that comes to the door.
And do a lot of walking. Or in the case of my district, driving, usually with a 4-wheel drive pickup.
Fabulous.
An ATV of some kind, yes.
Whatever it took.
Right, Arlene? I mean, really, it's really about the personal touch.
I walked around, too, as Attorney General. Went from 7 in the morning till 10 at night.
Yeah.
Literally wearing out shoes.
Yeah.
And I remember Steve Laffey would walk around when he was running for Senate, and he would change his shirt. He would literally sweat through his shirt, take the shirt off, put another one on. He had like 15, 20 yellow shirts, and he just... take that one off, put it back on. Remember, he had the Laffy Mobile was following him around?
Yeah.
It's just that's that retail one-on-one Rhode Island style, here I am in front of your face politics. All right, so give me a lesson. We have 2 minutes left to the hour. Arlene, what's the lesson for the night?
The natural organization wins out. Certainly the base was there for Allan Fung coming from the second largest city, as opposed to someone who doesn't have that kind of organization. And it was predictable he was going to win. The same for Gina Raimondo. She had the backing of the building trade unions, etc. All the people that depend on her to have their jobs in government, etc. So organization wins.
Nick, takeaway from tonight? Progressives, the speaker's in trouble?
I think the progressives had a good night. Even though Regenberg lost, they certainly made a point, and they came very, very close. And he hasn't lost yet, but it looks like he's going to. I think that is going to shape Rhode Island in the years to come more and more. The schism has begun in the Democrat Party. It looks like it's growing faster in the House than anywhere else.
Could
And
we
that's-
overnight have a new Republican Party where all these conservative Democrats have decided to leave and jump on?
I'm going to make a prediction. That's where we're headed.
Really?
I think someday that's something that will happen.
What people have to realize is that tonight, I think somewhere around 150,000, 160,000 people voted. That will double in the general election. So those extra people, that's what we're fighting for tonight, right?
It's one of the bigger
next several
turnouts
weeks.
we've had in primaries, too.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for
Thank
this. I
you,
appreciate
Matt.
it. We'll talk all about it tomorrow. Matt Allen Show, noon to 3. And don't forget, Gene Valicenti starts at 6. And of course, the news. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
Peacedale. From the New England Truck Solutions Studio, this is News Talk 99.7 FM and AM 630 WPRO. Providence, a Cumulus station.
Massive storm creeps closer. Church sex abuse. I'm Barbara Cusack.